Open Airbnb right now and scroll through almost any market. You'll see the same thing over and over again. Modern condo downtown, cozy beach house, luxury ocean view retreat, spacious 3-bedroom home. If you think those titles are doing their job, they're not. In fact, your listing title may be one of the biggest reasons guests are scrolling past your property without even realizing it. Guests aren't using titles the way hosts think they are. Hosts use titles to describe the house. Guests use titles to answer a completely different question. Is this the trip I'm planning? Once I realized that, something clicked. The highest performing titles aren't really about the property at all. They're about helping guests recognize what they want. A family searching for a beach vacation, a couple planning a romantic escape, a remote worker looking for a productive retreat. The property hasn't changed, but the way the guest sees the listing changes completely. And that's what we're breaking down today. Because once you understand what a listing title is actually supposed to do, you'll never write another feature-based title again. Let's start with a simple question. What do you think your listing title is supposed to do? Most hosts say, it's supposed to describe the property. Sounds reasonable, right? After all, if someone is looking at your listing, shouldn't they know what they're getting? That's exactly where the mistake begins. Because describing the property and attracting the right guest are not the same thing. Imagine you're walking through an airport. Hundreds of advertisements surround you. Most of them disappear into the background. But then suddenly you hear, "Attention travelers heading to Hawaii." Your head turns immediately. Why? Because it was relevant. The message identified you. That's what great listing titles do. Now let's compare two titles. The first says, Modern 3-bedroom beach house. The second says, Family beach escape steps from the sand. Notice something interesting? The first title tells us what the property is. The second tells us what the stay could become. One describes inventory. The other describes intention, and intention wins attention because guests are scrolling through Airbnb trying to solve a problem. A family is asking, where can we create great memories together? A couple is asking, where can we disconnect from everything? A remote worker is asking, where can I be productive without feeling trapped? The listing itself is just the answer. Think about buying a car. Most people don't buy an RV because it has a specific wheelbase. They buy it because they imagine camping trips or family adventures. The features support the story. The story creates the desire. The same thing happens with vacation rentals. When hosts write titles packed with features, they're leading with information. When successful hosts write titles, they're leading with relevance. And relevance is what stops the scroll. Because before a guest evaluates your reviews, checks your photos, compares your amenities, or analyzes your pricing, they make a much faster decision. They ask, does this feel like the trip I'm planning? If your title can't answer that question, the guest may never stick around long enough to discover how amazing the property actually is. Now that we've established that guests aren't using titles the way hosts think they are, let's go one level deeper. Because the real breakthrough isn't understanding that titles should be different. It's understanding what guests are actually buying. Most hosts believe they're competing with other properties. They're not. They're competing with dozens of different versions of a guest's future. Think about how someone plans a trip. Nobody sits on their couch and says, I really hope I find a 3-bedroom property with quartz countertops tonight. Instead, they say, we need a place where the kids can finally spend time together. Or, we haven't had a weekend alone in months. The trip exists before the property. The desire exists before the booking. And that's important because it changes how titles should work. A title isn't introducing the property. A title is joining a conversation already happening in the guest's mind. Imagine a guest planning a romantic anniversary weekend. They're scrolling through dozens of listings. Then they see 2-bedroom cabin with hot tub, technically accurate, but then they see romantic mountain escape with private hot tub, same property, completely different reaction. Why? Because the second title acknowledges why they're traveling. It speaks to the outcome they're seeking. The guest instantly thinks, that's exactly what we're looking for. That's the magic moment. Identification. And identification happens faster than evaluation. Before guests compare prices, before they check reviews, before they analyze amenities, they first decide whether a listing feels relevant. The strongest titles don't describe the building. They describe the reason someone would care about the building. Because guests don't book properties, they book events, birthdays, anniversaries, family reunions, adventure, connection. The property simply becomes the setting where that story unfolds. Once you understand that, title writing becomes much easier. You stop asking, what does my property have? And start asking, what trip does my property help create? That's a completely different mindset, and it changes everything. Let's do a quick experiment. Open Airbnb in almost any destination. Now read the first 20 listing titles. You'll notice something almost immediately. Luxury retreat, cozy cabin, ocean view apartment, beautiful beach house. At first glance, they seem different, but after a few minutes, they all start feeling identical. This is one of the biggest problems with feature-based titles. Features don't create distinction. Features create sameness, because everybody has features. Every listing has bedrooms, views, and kitchens. Eventually, the words lose meaning. Think about standing in a crowded room where everyone is shouting. The louder everyone gets, the harder it becomes to hear anyone. The same thing happens in search results. When everyone describes their property the same way, guests stop paying attention to those descriptions. And something interesting happens. They begin looking for shortcuts. What stands out? What feels different? What feels relevant? This is where guest-focused titles gain an advantage. Instead of saying modern downtown condo, you might say walk everywhere, downtown weekend base. Instead of pet-friendly home, you might say bring the dog without sacrificing the vacation. Notice what changed. It's not the property, it's the positioning. One title describes inventory, the other creates context. Context is memorable. Features are forgettable. This doesn't mean features are useless. They're incredibly important, but they belong later. Features belong in photos, descriptions, amenities, property details. The title has a different job. Its job is to earn the click. And earning the click requires standing out from a sea of identical descriptions. Because if every listing sounds the same, guests have no reason to stop scrolling. Here's one of the most powerful concepts in marketing. People pay attention to things that feel like they're meant for them. Not everyone, them. This is called self-identification, and it's happening constantly. Think about a magazine rack. A fitness enthusiast notices fitness magazines. A traveler notices travel magazines. A new parent notices parenting magazines. Why? Because relevance grabs attention. The same principle applies to listing titles. The strongest title isn't necessarily the most creative. It's the title that helps the right guest say, "That's me." Let's look at some examples. Family beach escape steps from the sand. Immediately, families pay attention. Work-friendly retreat with dedicated office. Remote workers pay attention. Dog-friendly cottage near hiking trails. Pet owners pay attention. Romantic cabin for quiet weekend getaways. Couples pay attention. Notice what's happening. The title acts like a magnet. But here's the interesting part. Good magnets attract. Great magnets also repel. A romantic getaway title may not appeal to large groups. That's okay. A family-focused title may not appeal to solo travelers. That's okay too, because your goal isn't attracting everyone. Your goal is attracting the guests most likely to book. The more specific the guest sees themselves in the title, the stronger the connection becomes. And strong connections create clicks. That's why great titles feel personal, not vague, personal. Because the moment someone recognizes themselves in your title, you've already separated yourself from most of the competition. Most hosts accidentally sell ingredients. Guests want the finished meal. Think about a luxury hotel advertisement. They rarely focus on thread counts, square footage, furniture brands. Instead, they show relaxation, connection, adventure, comfort. Why? Because outcomes create desire. Features justify it later. Let's say your property has a hot tub, mountain views, a fire pit, a private deck. Those are all features. But what outcome do they create? Maybe it's unplug from everything for a weekend. Now the property feels completely different. The features didn't change, the meaning changed. This is where many listings lose opportunities. They communicate facts, but guests are imagining futures. Facts answer, what does it have? Outcomes answer, what will this feel like? And people are naturally drawn toward feelings. A guest doesn't dream about your king-size mattress. They dream about finally getting great sleep. They don't dream about your fire pit. They dream about spending time with people they care about. Features are evidence. Outcomes are motivation. And motivation drives action. The strongest titles lead with the outcome because that's what captures attention first. Then the property proves it can deliver. By now you might be thinking, okay, this makes sense, but how do I actually write these titles? Here's a simple framework: guest plus outcome plus differentiator. Let's break it down. Guest, who is this stay for? Outcome, what are they hoping to experience? Differentiator, what helps create that experience? Examples: family plus beach memories plus walkable location equals family beach escape steps from the sand. Remote worker plus productivity plus dedicated office equals work-friendly retreat with private office. Couple plus relaxation plus hot tub equals romantic mountain escape with private hot tub. Dog owner plus convenience plus trails equals bring the dog. Cottage near scenic trails. Notice how every title starts with the guest. Not the property, not the amenities, not the room count, the guest. Because relevance comes first, details come second. Once you begin using this framework, title writing becomes much less about creativity and much more about clarity. And clarity almost always wins. Let's put this framework into practice. Original, luxury ocean view, condo. Problem, describes the property, doesn't identify the guest. Rewrite, sunrise beach escape with panoramic ocean views. Original, modern downtown apartment. Rewrite, walk everywhere from this downtown weekend. Base, original, pet-friendly cottage. Rewrite, bring the dog, relaxing cottage near nature trails. Original, 3-bedroom family home. Rewrite, family gathering spot minutes from the beach. Original, cabin with hot tub. Rewrite, romantic cabin retreat with private hot tub. Notice something interesting. The property barely changed. The amenities barely changed. But the emotional relevance increased dramatically. Each title tells the guest what kind of experience they're stepping into, and that's exactly what titles should do. Let's finish with the mindset shift that changes everything. Your listing title is not an inventory label. It's not a property summary. It's not a condensed amenities list. It's not a technical description. The title is a filter, a signal, a positioning statement. Its job is to help the right guest stop scrolling. Think about a movie poster. The poster doesn't explain every scene. It creates enough intrigue for you to want more. The title works the same way. It doesn't need to explain everything. It needs to create relevance. Because the moment a guest clicks your listing, the photos, reviews, amenities, and description can take over. But first, they need a reason to click. And that's why the best titles aren't really about the property. They're about the person reading them. The biggest mistake hosts make is asking, how do I describe my house? The better question is, how do I help the right guest recognize their trip? When you make that shift, your title stops being a description. It becomes an invitation. And invitations get opened far more often than descriptions get read. I'm Derek Gizriel, owner of LevelUp Stays, and if you want more of these short-term rental tips, go to my channel and watch my videos. Hit like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what other topics you want me to cover. I hoped you enjoyed the video and learned something from it. I'll see you in the next one.